pointer on it too? Is this it?
Yeah, yeah. It has the pointer.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so I'll zip through these, but I definitely want to, I just put these together based on over the last few days, based on the research that from last cycle that we put in. So, and I'll show you a timeline later at the end of this for the research cycle that's going to be coming up for the next fiscal year. We're good?
So let me just make sure it is. Okay, and reshare.
Got it. All right,
Okay.
now we're, all right, good. We got it now. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this online. So anyways, this is actually based off of the numbers, and you can see we've got 4 projects here. That's the number of projects right here. And I'll make sure that these slides, Amarnath, you have this presentation. We can make sure we distribute it so everybody have it, so you don't need to get too caught up. So let's see here. Let's get it down here. See. There we go. So here's the 4 projects that got approved for us this year by the Research Deployment Advisory Committee. You can see we have a performance-based seismic design of cut and cover tunnels. As I said, our quality assurance and QC/QA testing of couplers for our grade 80 reinforcement implementation. So that's a really important focus area of our structure policy board. And then we also had a transportation pooled fund study that's with Washington DOT, and we're going to contribute $60,000 to that, and that's for shape memory alloys. We have 5 projects that are on the contingency list, and I just found out on Friday that we have a really good chance of getting all of these picked up. So that means we'll have 5 more projects over the next 4 years. Again, another shake table testing. This is for another grade 80 project. Developing a seismic risk algorithm for our CalTrans tunnel inventory, which is important for us to get through one of our focus areas, which is trying to be able to screen the 66 tunnels on the state highway system. And then some analysis for buried structures, development of a large diameter headed reinforcement bars and bridge columns. We've tested smaller sizes. Now we want to do the numbers 14s and 18s. And then also a strengthening of steel girder bridges with bolter cover plates that go on the flanges, and finding a way to do that efficiently so that we can implement that and help out with retrofit of our steel structures. Okay, so here's our funded projects here. And then, so this is our geotechnical structures funding. And what I kind of wanted to do here, which is give you guys an idea of what's kind of been going on since, I'm going back all the way to fiscal year 16, 17. And just so you can kind of see, really, we've been getting our fair share, even though there's more people competing for the money, just like you saw. We're still getting our fair share of money. And I know for the Seismic Advisory Board and others, this is like a key thing. We still, believe it or not, we still do have a seismic retrofit program. We have a priority list. We have about 640 bridges on it. So we still need plenty of seismic research. We're about to put out a self-assessment report that kind of explains what folks can expect after an earthquake. I mean, when you spend a lot of money on research and you spend a lot of money, $14 billion retrofitting bridges, the public kind of has an expectation of, wow, that's a lot of money. But what most people don't know is really what is the damage level going to be? And they don't understand that, even though the columns are going to react the way we designed them to, there's going to be spalled concrete. We're going to have to replace that concrete. We're going to have bridges up on temporary supports. It's, there's still going to be a lot of damage out there, and we're trying to get folks used to that. And we also need to just make sure, bringing it back to this, that we're doing the research, right, to make sure that we keep advancing seismic retrofit along with the other issues that affect our bridges, which we've seen. There's We're getting more towards research that helps guide our asset management program. So that's our focus area. That's where that's another one of our focus areas with the gas tax is to get bridge decks, bridge columns, different components of bridges. They're one of the 4 primary asset classes. So there's certainly a seismic retrofit component of that, but the other is just day-to-day use and addressing service life issues, just things that happen to us every day, driving trucks and cars and vehicles over the roads. So anyways, you can see, oops, let me go back up there. Number of projects again, these are active projects and we're out in here now. We've got 22 active projects. And you can see our dollar size. You can see we're getting more projects for the dollar amount. So our project dollar amounts per project have tended to come down a little bit. But we are getting plenty of projects. These down here, you can see, you'll be able to see this when you get the slide. But this kind of shows earthquake engineering. That's kind of my staff. Geotechnical services. I showed you the lineup before. And then Sharon and Andon help us with our greasy pier. So that's all these yellow columns. So it kind of shows you, and I have a better slide that'll kind of show you percentages of this. And then the magenta colors here are which of these projects out of all of these, how much of those are seismic projects. So here's our number of active contracts. Again, we're staying pretty good. And over here, I kind of left this out because this will be next year. This will be when we intake. I have 0 currently in, but this kind of shows you the capacity we have out here to bring in future projects. So, I can pick up about 8 more projects this year, hopefully, and keep things moving. And that also kind of shows you, kind of what, how our flow kind of goes of up and down, but we're staying pretty steady. And then, so here's our seismic project funding. And this is something the Seismic Advisory Board and Dr. Buckle asked us to look into a little bit is we want to make sure, how much of our project of the geotechnical structures total that we're getting in, how much of it is seismic projects, that you could count as seismic funding. And going back, you can see it was heavily weighted towards that. And we're staying pretty steady down here on percentages. And this one right here will probably grow again this year now that we're bringing in some other projects. And that also kind of reflects that we kind of shifted our focus for a little bit to get all those grade 80 projects in. So that kind of lowers our overall percentage. So here's our peer projects, the number of, total amount of projects over the few years. And then at the bottom here, these percentages are percentage of our overall geotechnical structures program. How much of those are being done through the peer program? So it shows we do a lot of work with you all, and we appreciate that. And I can just say from my anecdotal experience, one of the best things about having peer on board and having Sharon Yan is it's so much easier to get things contracted when we already have things in place. That's kind of become the bottleneck for us at CalTrans is getting things through the procurement and contracting stage after we get projects approved. So it's really nice. For example, last year I had a project manager who kind of got behind after his project got approved, and we were already in October, and I called up Sharon and I said, we're never going to get this through DPAC. Can we shift this over to peer? We were able to shift it in there, and we just wrote the contract on that one for the overhead box beam structures. We just got that done on time, at the end of June. So that's where it's really used for us, and we really appreciate the relationship. And plus, there's just so many different universities, so much expertise. It's really nice for us to be able to have that available to get research done. Okay, so just coming up, so research cycle for the upcoming year. One thing I just want to point out here, you guys can see this in the slide. So this kind of shows our cycle last year and the FY 23-24 cycle. The biggest change here that I just want to point out, normally, you guys saw that whole timeline where we go through our technical steering committee and it goes through the program steering committees, and we finally get to research deployment advisory committee and they approve everything. Well, for us to get it over to the program steering committees, we used to get it in around February 1st. That's going to be December 30th now. So that bumps things up kind of a month. It really won't affect our DES, I'll show you, but the reason they want to do that is they're trying to get things approved down here that have the RDAC meeting. This year, for example, it was April 15th, but then it got postponed to May 17th. So that when we don't, that only gives us a couple of months to get statement of works, all that stuff put together to get it over our contract packages over to our procurement and accounting group. So and contracting group, excuse me. So they're trying to bump up their timeline to make sure that they don't jam us up and you know, because we do have a log jam over there like everybody else. You know, they have people retiring, you know, and just like we have engineers retiring, and CalTrans is kind of struggling there. We're starting to get back over the hump again, where we've hired a lot of engineers and we've hired a lot of people back, and things are starting to get a little bit smoother. I'm sure all of you can appreciate that too, where you're at, especially in the public sector. So anyways, here's our targeted date, November 1st. Here's our timeline to get through our process, and I won't take up too much more time. This will be in the presentation. You guys are always welcome to get in touch with me with any questions you have about research or whatever, and I'll focus you to the right people within CalTrans and engineering services to answer your questions about taking in research forms. And that's one of the things I'm trying to encourage. You know, we've kind of gotten to the point where it was just a lot of the projects that were being submitted were internally submitted. You know, they were internal requests from our engineers who knew different areas that want to be focused on. And now it's kind of nice that we're trying to get back over there. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that, where communications just shut down. We didn't have forums like this where we could all get together and talk as easily. So I think that's starting to come back, and it's really nice. We're starting to see universities getting in touch with us, talking to our engineers and getting us, you know, where, you know, hopefully we'll start getting a lot of submittals, external submittals too. All right. Well, with that, we should probably get to lunch and do that. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I told you a little bit about what we've got going on this year at CalTrans and what the process is going to look like. Thanks, Emmerich.
Thank you, Greg. We really appreciate the Peer Bridge program. You know, it is Peer has 150 odd researchers or so. CalTrans has many research needs and money, so we're happy to make the match through the RFP process. You all saw the numbers there, and upcoming one next year and deadlines. So yeah, we look forward to.
We're always happy to talk with you about research.